Welcome back to Go Again Gaming, and welcome back to round 4 of the League That Means Nothing 2. We're really closing in on the end of this one, and it's going to be an interesting game today. As always, I am Ian. I'll be doing commentary for you, and today we have a matchup between Vynsett and Riptide. So we have Jay Malay. Sorry, Jay, if I've messed up your name. Zen State Fab. That I can do. On Vynsett. Jay's main character, main focus in Flesh and Blood right now is on playing Vynsett, and he's doing a bang up job with that, running the Zen State Discord, really just honing in on building Vynsett. And I bet he is salivating with all those cool spoilers we got in Rosetta. But they're not legal this league, they're legal next league. And then, so he's competing against Riptide, Lurker of the Deep. By Aaron Francis. Do you know who that is? I've never heard of him personally, but must be some guy giving Ranger a shot here on Go Again Gaming. Why not? It might not be Azalea, but this really is a Ranger focused channel a lot of the time. When it comes to spoilers and content, that's what Az gets up to. Now, what we want to know is, are the traps and tricks of Riptide going to be able to stack up to the unpreventable rune chance and the massive rune gate effects of Vynsett? Now, Riptide does have a serious benefit in this, in that he has a way of dealing unpreventable damage himself in the form of those traps. And things like Jay's Envelop in Darknesses, his Mauvrian Skies, just give Riptide fuel to hit those traps, trigger those effects, and deal some serious damage. So it'll be an interesting matchup if the overwhelming rune chance from Jay can propel him into 3-1 and keep him in contention for that top 8 spot, or if our own Az is going to continue with the league on going into a 3-1, pushing himself into contention for those top 8 slots. But with that, I'm going to throw over to the gameplay. We have a roll off, ladies and gentlemen, there. And I can't quite make out the dice on Jay's side. Az's was pretty clear. And now we've got both heroes drawing up. And let's see who is taking the play. Jay with a pretty standard Vynsett loadout here, running the Crown of Providence, Final Spring Tunic, Vexing Quillhand, which is amazing for bailing you out of a turn, and Spellbound Creepers. Really powerful piece of equipment if you've read it. Edgy Iron Rot boots if you're like Bill Lepage and you haven't read it. So we have Jay banishing a blue Deathly Whale to Vynsett's trigger, generating a rune chant. Yeah, counter on Tunic. Always get the counter on Tunic. And playing a Read the Runes, which is a really great start going first here for Vynsett. On Az's side of the board, we have a Dreadbore to play around defense reactions, Arcanite Skullcap, which is pretty much always turned on in Riptide because you start lower. Perch Grapplers, Long Draw Half Glove, Trench of Sunken Treasures, and the Quiver of Abyssal Depths. So quite the fridge packed from this Ranger here. The other thing about Arcanite Skullcap, Arcanite Skullcap looking like it's going to get better now with the spoilers from Rosetta, because we've got our first Arcanite piece that has been revealed since Arcane Rising. So let's see how Riptide responds here on his first turn, going second. Vynsett obviously wants to go first because it allows her to have a little setup, but this allows Riptide to take the tempo in that his turn is the first turn that is really going to push any damage. So we have a Premeditate, which will allow Riptide to trigger. It looks like Az is going to decline the reload trigger. It's going to load an Endless Arrow with a Dreadbore and just send in an Endless Arrow for 8, getting +1 from Dreadbore and also no defense reactions from hand, which is You might think it's not as relevant a piece of text, but hey, it has really pushed through a lot of damage in the past. It's really good into decks that you expect to see a lot of defense reactions out of. And it looks like Che is going to just give up um 3, 5, 6, 7 block. Yeah, giving up the full block there, crowning away his arsenal, drawing a card. Uh, looks like a crown, a bounding demagon, and I can't quite make out that last one. It is the widespread annihilation. So Jay full blocking this one, keeping 3 cards, as getting his arsenal all set up, ready to go. Jay obviously planning on doing something with this turn. Probably wasn't overly happy with the arsenal, but that was a very aggressive block using the Crown of Providence. Because what Riptide really wants to do in these kind of game states is chip you down, get rid of that armor, start punching in damage, and then when you get to sort of lower life totals, sit back on his traps and really use those to generate advantage. But Jay is going to banish a Deathly Delight, generate a 5th rune chant, play a Shadow Puppetry, paying 1 life to Vynsett, triggering, forcing one of those rune chants through, and then send in this Deathly Wail for 5 arcane, 5 physical, on hit. Jay can look at the top card of his deck and he may banish it. Now, I can't really expect a whole lot of follow up to this. It will generate 2 rune chants, so he can probably play that Deathly Delight if it's a rune gate 2, which I think it is. So now Az has to think whether it's worth blocking out these rune chants, whether it's worth taking the rune chants and blocking out the on hit. Yeah, pitching a Pursuit of Knowledge, taking 1 more rune chant, and Deathly Wail coming in for 5 with Go Again. So Az is looking at 2 rune chants regardless from this Deathly Wail due to the on damage effect when the combat chain closes. Yeah, we have the Arcanite Skullcap giving up, getting that crucial 2 block out of it because Az is at a lower life total. And we have a Pitfall Trap. It can only be played from Arsenal. When it defends, Riptide will trigger, and then it will deal 2 damage unless the attacking hero pays 1. I wonder, does that now reduce the Skullcap's block? I think it is an effect that is always checking, so as you may have hoist yourself by your own petard there. And then we have Deathly Delight. So 2 arcane, and then for each hero that is damaged this combat chain, Jay will gain a life. So he hasn't managed to damage himself this combat chain, but as is taking a point, will if he takes a point of damage, will also gain Jay a life. So I was thinking about this block. He has already given up 2 cards this turn, so it may be a case where he wants to hang on to the other 2 cards. Yeah, it looks like Az is taking the 2 rune chants anyway, for sure. And then giving up the other block on the Skullcap. Very aggressive blocks from with their armor from both players. And then a boulder trap. So no Riptide trigger here because the power of this attack is not greater than its base, but it would have been pretty key at blocking the previous one because it was +1. So Riptide taking 1, Jay gaining a life. So let's see what Az decides to do here. Right, we're pitching to Dreadbore because the only buff we have in hand is obviously a one cost and sending in an intoxicating shot. When this hits a hero, they create a courage and a quicken token. So this is an interesting one because it's a massive downside. 5, massive downside with this on hit, but at the same time, Jay gets a quicken and a courage, which are a massive upside for Vynsett. The reason for the massive downside is you can give heroes who don't normally have go again to trigger things like your frailty traps and your target traps. Looks like just a 6 block here from Jay. We're back onto a setup plan. So it looks like Jay is planning on banishing a card to Vynsett, possibly moving to Arsenal, possibly generating some other rune chants. So yeah, we have another Deathly Well banished to Vynsett's trigger, generate a rune chant. So that is a red Deathly Well, an Arsenal, and a pass. So Az now has 4 cards in hand. Interesting thing about Riptide in general, if you are not on a hyper aggressive version of the deck, it can be quite hard to convert 4 card hands because traps. If your opponent doesn't attack and you have suddenly drawn 4 traps, you have drawn 4 stone cold bricks. It looks like Az activate Dreadbore, probably wishing he had Death Dealer right now. Loading and passing. So it looks like maybe Az didn't find an arrow in that hand at least. Possibly a lot of buffs, doing the old Azalea problem. Possibly just found a bunch of traps. So let's see where Jay takes this one. Banish the Eloquent Eulogy. This card slaps. Anyone who has not played this, I've been testing it in Living Legend in Chain. For a single rune chant, you can play it from your banish zone and generate an Eloquence token, which is one of the most powerful tokens I think LSS have ever designed. The ability to give non-attack actions that don't have go again is messed up. Things like Final Spring Tunic, etc. Oh, we're cracking the Vexing Quill hand. That's usually the oh crap button. So Jay must be planning something big here and sending in this Deathly Whale for 4 arcane and 6 on damage, as will help Jay generate another rune chant. So I would imagine there is some shenanigans coming in with Spellbound Creepers here, but it's hard to say. Yeah, as just taking a chunk. Jay gets to keep his creepers if he activates them. And let's see how Az decides to block this Deathly Well. So we have another Pitfall Trap. So that's another damage and then a potential 2 more damage if, yeah, Jay is just saying, yeah, who cares? It's just a trap. I'm fine. And now we have a Boulder Trap as well to block 6. Looks like I might not have been incorrect in Az finding himself a lot of traps. And then with the Riptide trigger, having played a card from hand, is able to stick a card in his arsenal. So let's see what Jay decides to do here. He's taking that Tunic counter. I imagine that's going to be used to activate Spellbound Creepers. Looks like so we have a bind counter placed on Spellbound Creepers, allowing Jay to play his next non-attack action as an instant. So he can do all of this without closing the combat chain. So he's going to Creepers in this Mavrian Skies, allowing his next Runeblade attack to have go again and generating himself an action point. He's going to play a Funeral Moon as an instant because a hero has lost life this turn, generating a rune chant. And Jay has been able to do all of this without closing the combat chain, which is usually a tricky one for Vynsett. And then follow that up with Eloquent Eulogy for 1 arcane, 5 go again, on hit, make 3 rune chants. So as whatever you do, you got to make sure this is a serious on hit. You don't want to take this damage. Yeah, taking the 1 rune chant, that's fine. That's whatever. You can have your eloquence token, maybe. But the rune chants are serious business here. So let's see if Az has some more traps, some more tricks, something interesting with Riptide, maybe. So Jay shuffles his hand, shuffle, shuffle, giving it the old slow Brian Kibler. So Az going to put up that long draw half glove, the remorseless. So that's 4. And Jay following up with just a widespread destruction. So that will banish a card from Arsenal. For each hero who's lost life this combat chain will banish a card from their arsenal. But Jay has gone empty-handed. He's really thrown the kitchen sink here at Az to try and keep the tempo. And this is the biggest turn he's liable to get. Az looking at his arsenal there, do I banish it? Is there anything I can do with this? What's the play? Az is going to Trench of Sunken Treasure away that arsenal, generating himself a resource, and just probably take the 6, move to arsenal. So it looks like there's some thinking being done here. I imagine that was an arrow Az was planning on using, or potentially it was something else. And then just going to give up the rest, give up the boots, give up the premeditate, and let this combat chain close up. Yeah, so we move the long draw half glove back. It gets a battle worn counter. The resource goes away. Jay manages to make himself an eloquence token and a rune chant. So it's overall a pretty decent turn from Zen State Fab, Az is simply going to drop and pass. So now Jay is kind of in a quandary. He has to deal some arcane damage this turn, or he is going to lose those spellbound creepers. So if you're Az here, your main game plan really has to be preventing arcane damage. Because ripping those spellbound creepers away, huge, huge net value. And then Jay will be left with just his tunic. He'll be on fairly minimal equipment. All right, Jay pitching an envelope in darkness if you're a runaway, to play an envelope in darkness, paying 1 life for Vynsett, so he is going to force through this rune chant. So he is guaranteed to keep his creepers around. Maybe he'll get a better shot at using them. As even as is new. Oh, he is Trench of Sunken Treasure. Of course, it has Arcane Barrier. Rangers always just have extra Arcane Barrier coming out the wazoo for some reason. And then this is going to be an Eloquent Eulogy for 8 and 3 Arcane. I think priced in as you are, I would take the 3 Arcane and then focus on dealing with this 8 physical. Now, obviously, if Az has a serious hand here, who knows? He might take the damage and just start trying to claw back some tempo. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, I was taking the rest of the rune chance. probably resolving to deal with this eloquent eulogy. Good news is the buff is going to turn on some of his traps, but it looks like we're just going to drop the hand here, prevent some damage. Jay is going to generate another Eloquence token, Arsenal card, and Az is just going to move to Arsenal and wait for the storm to calm down because Jay has really been throwing one-way traffic at Riptide this game. So start a turn, banish a Phantom Wraith, generate a rune chant. Tick up your tunic, tick up your tunic, tick up your tunic, tick up your tunic. Ah, Jay. And then we have a read the runes with go again. Again, this is what I'm saying. Eloquent eulogy. Eloquence tokens. Busted. So LSS have to be super, super careful with them because they're so powerful and so dangerous. If they are ever too good, it's not ideal. So Beseech the Demagon, giving +3 to a card in Jay's Banish. He is going to pay a life, making sure to force through a rune chant. Are we going to pay for Shadow Puppetry? Play a Shadow Puppetry here is what it looks like. Yeah. So we are locking in go again on that Phantom. So Az now knows that all his traps are online. So we have a 4 and a 9. Just your casual 13 damage turn. You know, it's no big deal. Just Vynsett things. And I think, if I saw correctly, that is a Revel in Ruinblood in Jay's hand, which is just 4 damage plus the flail, so crazy stuff. Real good stuff here coming from Jay. Hope he doesn't lose by 1 resource. That'd be very Pheno Black of him. The old heads remember. And Az is going to throw out a tripwire trap. So effects don't trigger on attack hits this chain link unless the attacking hero pays 1. And Az is going to deal a point of damage because it is a trap coming from Arsenal. So those old Crucible of War traps, for those who don't know, they trigger from Arsenal. Can't be played otherwise. And now we've got a Frailty trap from hand, trigger Riptide, dealing a point of damage. And an Inertia trap, dealing another point of damage, giving Jay an Inertia, giving Jay a Frailty. Really good stuff there, as you've just, and turning off that Shadow Puppetry on hit. Really good. Great stuff. And triggering Riptide for a reload. Or are we? It looks like we might be. We're not sure. Jay's just going to close the combat chain there. Play this Revel in Ruinblood because he's going to lose it to the Inertia. Generate 4 rune chants. Not the Bloodied Oval. Send in the Flail for 0. Paying a life to attack for 0. But it is 4 arcane. But this leaves Jay now in that spot where he has no setup going into next turn. No Arsenal, no cards, nothing. Now, if you're Az, maybe you take the 4 rune chants here. Go to 15. It's not too bad, but you'll keep your 2-card hand, and maybe you'll be able to set something up, at least throw some damage back, threaten Jay a little bit, see what happens. Instead, we have a Murky Water pitched to a rune chant, taking 3, taking 0 from the flail. Az is going to then Arsenal. Draw up and pass. So, while not doing a whole lot offensively, this deck that Az has brought is doing some serious work on the defense. And Jay has his oh crap button gone. He has no Eloquence token. So we're really in an awkward spot here. Jay, remember in your tunic this turn, eh? So he needs some way of generating extra rune chance in order to start playing. Instead, we're just going to take a blood debt, lose our creepers, and IP2 ourselves. Now, as is your chance. Do not, for the love of God, have all traps in hand. You have every chance in the world to really come back into this game. And with a Deadeye, pitch a blue drill shot. So the next arrow this turn gets +3, and if it has an aim counter, oh, what is this? It is a remorseless. Very powerful arrow. So this is a remorseless for 8 on hit. Every time Jay takes an action next turn, he will lose a life. Really, really good stuff. Looks like Az has built a very controlly sort of mid-range game plan with this one. Very different to his usual playstyle on Azalea. But it is great to see him representing a lesser played hero in a league that means nothing, because after all, it means absolutely nothing. So why not have fun with it? Play a deck he's not used to, get some experience, try something new, and have a good time. And he's playing this one really, really well. The life total difference is, it's 10 points, but that can be changed very quickly, as we see here with a quick, powerful 8 here from Az, could deal some serious damage. And on top of that, remorseless. Like, we've seen Jay play like 3 or 4 actions in a turn. So, like, if he is taking another 3 or 4 points of damage, that could be really, really key. So, as got his little remorseless reminder token there. I love that. I must bug him for some in Osaka when I'm hanging out with him drinking strong zeros. Jay banishing a widespread. No, and the third eloquent eulogy, of course, powerful card. Using Tunic, play a Runeblood incantation, lose a life to their J, go to 17. Remorseless trigger. Perfect. And then those Runeblood incantations coming a little bit later here, playing a Mauvrion Skies. And then we have the Eloquent Eulogy going to 15. So that's 2 Arcane and 4 on hit, make 2 Rune Chance. If has another Tripwire Trap, maybe he's not making any Rune Chance, who knows? Some pretty tight gameplay. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, that life total difference can disappear in an instant from a good turn from a Riptide. As taking the 2 Arcane, so Jay gets his Eloquence token at the end of this combat chain. What we don't want him getting is 2 more Rune Chance, because that would allow him to play what looks like a Deathly Whale. So we have the Tripwire Trap, blocking 4, and says effects don't trigger this chain link unless the attacking hero pays 1. So it doesn't look like Jay has any follow up this chain link. No pump spells. Generally speaking, I think he's running a much more low to the ground version of Vynsett. And in that case, you can't really afford to be like, oh yeah, here's my pummel, just in case I have a blue or a yellow. Jay closing the combat chain, getting his Eloquence token. That's a Revel and Runeblood there from Jay. Looks like we have a bit of a discussion about the life total changes here. Reminding us how many things he's played. Yeah, Runeblood, Revel and Runeblood, generating 4 rune chance, losing a life, losing that Eloquence token. Don't be putting that in your graveyard, Jay. You'll go missing. And sending in this Deathly Whale, losing another life. So that Remorseless is now dealt 6 points of damage this turn, which is a 14-point damage swing off of a single card. That's crazy. So we have 4 arcane damage and 6 as taking the 4 arcane. Jay's going to get his 2 rune chance because he has most certainly lost an amount of life this turn. But this is not too bad here from Az. Az giving up two battering bolts. Can't imagine he has the reds to play them or the blues to play them this turn if he's just slamming them down like that. That was the quickest turnaround on battering bolts I've seen in a while. Jay, don't forget your rune chance. That's the whole reason you play deathly well. It looks like there's been a bit of a mistake there from our Zen State Fab with his rune chance. And we're just going to send in good old fashioned command and conquer. Here's six. Blow up your arsenal. Cut your life in half. Solid, solid stuff. Um, so the scary turns with Riptide are coming up now. Once you kind of go below that 10 life threshold, you are starting to get in a real spot of bother because they can just defend really efficiently and just chip you down. They don't need, like, once you get below 10, start hitting around 5 life, they don't need to do a whole lot to deal with you. So we have 2 rune chants that should be 4. And Jay has a card in hand and a card in arsenal. Taking a point of blood debt and just passing. We're looking to just make a big push next turn. Um, that's a tough one from Jay there. He would have been able to throw that deathly well had he generated those rune chants from the previous turn. But again, while it might mean nothing, when you're playing a game, you're thinking about so many factors, you're thinking about what your opponent's doing. These things can go amiss. So, as with an activation of Dreadbore, and just thrown out a weakest link, just here's another 6, baby. Let's go. Jay, do you want to go to 5? Do you want to take your chance? I don't think Vynsett runs a whole lot of non-blocks, but there's always a chance. Yeah, looks like giving up a nice 6 block here, closing the combat chain, moving to Arsenal, using the Dreadbore very efficiently to help filter his hand, banishing to Vynsett, generating a rune chant, that crucial third rune chant for his Deathly Wail, ticking down, making a 4th rune chant, ticking up Tunic, playing a Read the Runes, generating some more rune chants. So we're now at 7. I think Jay has just resolved to go all in on trying to kill Az with one big burst turn. I see he's pivoted off this attacking game plan, doesn't want to get chipped down, doesn't want to get beat up by Riptide. But hey, if Az strings together a couple of good buffs, maybe an arrow or 2, you never know. Looks like he's looking at a trap in Arsenal. That's going to gain 3 life. That's a pretty good start, Az. I like that. Bet Jay didn't see that one coming. He's thinking, yeah, I can deal this damage. Like, maybe I can't. And now we have an Enlightened Strike for 7. I imagine from what I saw, I think that's an inertia trap in Az's arsenal, which could kind of brick him up a little bit. And Jay just giving up 7 there, using that bloodied oval, getting his 1 block of value out of it, covering up this E-Strike, and closing up. Keeping 2 cards in hand, card in arsenal. Got a Vynsett trigger to start the turn, and it's going to be this Funeral Moon. It's pretty good. And then we're going to lose the last counter on Rune Blood Incantation. So we're at 9 rune chants now. So we have 2 cards here from Jay, and so might still be a pummel. That would be cheeky, having the resources to somehow do that with all these reds he's played. But we have 9 arcane coming in, and 5. Now, I can't imagine Az has the resources really to deal with 9 arcane. If he has a blue, he might use it, and that's another Funeral Moon there for Jay. So if Az takes damage, he's looking at another 3 rune chance. Yeah, 3. If Jay can pays a life as well, that's another 4 rune chance, which could follow this up. So long think here from us, because this is kind of a crucial turn in this game that means absolutely nothing. Oh, as going like, yeah, taking 3. Definitely taking 3. We're going to respond with an Oblivion. Damn. We have Nazareth, the Soul Harrower. Once per turn attack, 0. When it hits, banish a card from the hero's soul. If a light card is banished this way, gain a life. So, not a whole lot here beyond J, just gaining some life, having an attack that plays around the traps. And those funeral moons are active now, as just going to 4 here. We have Deathly Wail coming in for 5 now. I could definitely see as giving up at least 1 card here, if not 2. But sure, we'll see. He has no option but to keep that Trench's Sunken Treasure, because the minute that goes away, he is out cold, stone dead. So we're just going to give up this Inertia Trap here. Possibly another trap here from Az, if he has one. And no, but a Sigil of Solace, as good as anything else. It's a 3 block at the end of the day, and we get a nice Riptide trigger for Az. And he's going to respond here with a Pitfall Trap, dealing 1 damage to Jay, and unless he pitches, he's going to take another 2 points of damage. Yeah, taking 3 in total, going to 7. Going 6. I feel like Jay should be. Oh no, he's pitching into the Pitfall Trap instead, going to 9. And then he's going to play this Funeral Moon to generate a Rune Chant as an instant. Losing a life. I don't think you needed to pay a life there, Jay. You've lost a life this turn, but these are the kind of things that I am not overly familiar with, as I play a lot of Runeblade, but it's mostly been Viserai and Briar, and I'm very, very excited for Florian and Aurora. But I have not put the time into Vynsett Iron Maiden. I have a lot of experience with Shadow Runeblades. I've played my fair share of Chain, but here we have a drill shot from 5, loaded with Dreadbore, coming in at Vynsett. There's not a lot threatening here though, and Jay might be able to just lock this out. Even give up 1 card, because that would require Az to find a number of traps. So Jay, considering his blocks here, you're probably giving up at least 2 cards if you want to stay nice and healthy. Make sure that we don't have any big issues if you're Az. Really trying to think about this one now as Jay. Yeah, we're giving up an Envelope in Darkness. That's for sure blocking. So that blocks 2. Maybe not. A Runeblood Incantation. I imagine we're not expecting to get the resources out of that. Taking 5. Taking it 3 down to 5. As putting the -1 counter on that Tunic. That Tunic is now not blocking. And Jay is going to banish to Vynsett and lose his Runeblood Incantation. So we're up to 4 rune chance here. Lose the Runeblood Incantation. Take up our Tunic. That's in our action phase, but look, we'll give it to him. Using the Tunic, playing an Envelope in Darkness. So the next rune gated card gets +2. With Pain of Life for Vynsett. Yeah, we're doing it. We're running the risk. We're playing the game. Rolling those dice. So let's see what Jay has here. Beseech the Demagon. So that is going to be another +3. So we have a +5 total to this attack. And then we're going to Deathly Wail for 4 arcane and a casual 11. So what is Az going to do to deal with this one? Jay's got to be careful. If Az has some traps that trigger on power greater than their base, he could very quickly put Jay to 1. If not dead. Depends on his hand. It would be very funny if he had 4 traps that triggered. Yeah, Az going to 3 here. So Jay is locked in on getting his 2 rune chance. If he gets that far. Yeah, we have a block of 3, 6, 8. And then a frailty trap. So Az dumping the entire hand here, covering everything up, no triggers from this frailty trap because there is no go again on that Deathly Wail. Giving Jay his 2 rune chance, moving on to his next turn. Az is just going to draw up and try again next turn. So we're still in the danger zone for both heroes here. We're in what we call squeaky bum time, where every decision is going to be super relevant. Jay, banish, make a rune chant. Az can no longer ignore those rune chants because 3 is his entire life total. Pitch into envelop in darkness, generate a rune chant. Let's see if Jay has the no thanks, no Vynsett trigger. Thank you very much. Thank you for the offer, sir, but it's okay. And now we have Mavrian Skies, 4 arcane, 8 go again. Let's see what Az has to say about that. A blue and 3 traps really bails him out here. But Nazareth gets to follow this up. I think Az has run through his pitfall traps, which is a real shame because a trap and a pitfall trap here might steal him the game. So let's see what our Riptide player has. What lurks in the depths with Riptide? What traps? I was really probably thinking about how the hell do I survive this turn? Because the go again is really the killer here. It's not the 8 or the 4. Because it's really absolutely it's the go again. Allows Nazareth to throw down. Very surprised. I imagine Jay brought Oblivion just in case this wound up being a fatiguey kind of matchup. Because in those situations, you can set up your big chunk of rune chance and just be like, Grant, we have Nazareth. That is a threat that my opponent can't ignore. Pitching the 2 rune chance with this Deadeye. Taking 2 down to 1. Now let's see what Az has here. If indeed he has anything. We're in a particularly rough spot. That is not going to do it, my man. And a target trap. So 1 damage and attack action cards do not have on hits. And now we send in a big demon. That's just 6. Not much you can do about that, buddy. Well played, Az. That was a real game. Like, you were so far behind and you really, really nearly pulled that one back. And extremely well played from Jay. Played that really, really safe. Took the risk to give you a bit of tempo in the middle of the game. reasoning that because you were such a defensive style deck, you wouldn't be able to push the damage that would punish him for that. Yeah, super well done to both players. So Jay, you move into 3-1 live for top 8. As I'm not sure on the Swiss breakdown, so 2-2. You've still got one more round to go. You might still squeak in at the back end of that top 8. Really well played. Both players. Super interesting game from two heroes that we don't see a huge amount of in Classic Constructed, and I really, really enjoyed calling this one. More importantly, I hope you enjoyed it. I always have fun doing these. I hope you enjoy them. Make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, you tell us how much you enjoyed this video, how much you enjoy the league, how much you love Go Again Gaming, what your thoughts are on the heroes that were played. Hey, maybe you're excited for Rosetta, you're excited for the league. That means nothing. 3, where Rosetta is legal, and what hero are you going to bring to it? But thank you very much for watching. That's all from me. I have been Ian. You can find me on Twitter at finals_spirit, and I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye.